Welcome to video 1 for the Small Business Management course of Fall 2018. I'll be walking you through this course of business creation, development, and hopefully successful exit. As you know, we are looking to create a case as to whether or not small business is less, more, or just as important as the corporate companies we identify throughout the day. The reality is most businesses, even major corporations like Google, started off as small businesses and grew into major conglomerates that impact the world stage. Let's look at some examples of small businesses. Brian Scudamore, CEO of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, once stated, "I often get asked advice from young people who are interested in starting their own business, and what I tell them is, don't do what I did." Which just goes to show you that what works for one CEO or entrepreneur may not work for another. Yet, when you look at Brian Scudamore's experiences, there are experiences we can apply to our own lives. One example is how he was able to take a WTF attitude, a willingness to fail. Being the grandchild of two entrepreneurs who owned an army surplus store, Brian had some experiences around a business. Not only that, he dropped out of high school to start his business in waste management. So at 20, he starts a business, and 8 years later, he's able to reach 1 million in revenue. He had to step back at that point and realize that he was no longer an entrepreneur, but he was a business owner. He was a long way from being that little child in his grandparents' army surplus store. He was finally getting a chance to really become a business owner. Once he started comparing himself to others, however, he started to become frustrated, which began looping into a negative mindset. So what he did was take that WTF approach, a willingness to fail. He secluded himself at a retreat and made a list of what it was he wanted to accomplish within his company. The list he made at the retreat is as follows. First, being on the Oprah Winfrey Show. Second, hit the top 30 cities by 2003, a 5-year game plan. Finally, top metro waste management company. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. You're seeing this and saying, why would a junk company want to be on Oprah Winfrey Show? It's for the exposure, right? And he was thinking the exact same thing, except he didn't even know how he was going to get to that point. And not knowing how to do it didn't even matter. He was setting up his vision for what was to come. Long story short, he was able to get these things done. So at the time, Oprah had a couple of specials on people who were hoarding. And these are people who collect artifacts and things but never throw out garbage because they are attached to it. Hoarding episodes were what attracted most people to the Oprah Winfrey Show at that time, and lo and behold, you have a junk company that's getting rid of massive amounts of waste in a very efficient way. This got them the exposure and traction they needed to hit the top 30 cities. And not only that, they became the #1 waste management company in the United States. Another example that Brian Scudamore brings up during one of his presentations is having to fire his best friend from the company. So at the time when he actually did this, it was like having two giants in a room. And let me tell you, if the room is small, it's hard to get anything done. In his own words, he said, "I recruited my best friend. I was the best man at his wedding. And unfortunately, I ended up firing him. But it was something that we both agreed upon." And it's true. The process encompassed firing his partner, hiring a team, and making an honest list about what he already had and what he needed. He had to take inventory before he could make the right decision for his company. Because if he didn't, he would have compromised his values and perhaps taken a risk that would have been detrimental to the continuous growth of the company. So some key takeaways from this anecdote. Brian Scudamore is a prime example of an entrepreneur who was able to accomplish big things from the small steps he took early in his career and throughout. A small detail: Brian was diagnosed with ADD and dropped out of high school. Yet he's a testament to the fact that not everyone has to go through the same experience to be successful. Not only that, a college education is not a necessary requirement to start a business. That being said, he states that entrepreneurship is difficult, full of hardships and mistakes, but how he made it positive was taking a WTF attitude, a willingness to fail. He also stated that he approaches his success with a vision. However, he waited for himself to become overwhelmed in order to take inventory. Lastly, he got his hands dirty, and he did it when he needed to. What we could take away from this is we don't have to wait till things go bad to take inventory. We could do it now. The best thing to do is to get involved. 1-800-GOT-JUNK is no longer a small business, it's a corporation. But the way it started out was as follows. It had less than 100 employees, it was geographically localized, and had the potential for growth. And that's how we're going to identify small businesses from here on out. 1-800-GOT-JUNK is no longer a small business.
Another example of two
but the way it started
entrepreneurs
was as follows.
that founded the Lightbridge Academy.
It had less than 100 employees.
Is Guy
It was
and
geographically
Julia
localized.
Falzarano,
Husband
had
and
the
wife
potential
team.
for growth.
And that's
Now,
how
the
we're gonna
Lightbridge
identify
Academy is a
small
franchise
businesses
of
from here on
daycares
out.
that provides quality childcare in the tri-state area. Guy Falzarano and his wife focus on core values. These are aspects that are most important to them personally, emotionally, and now financially. And the reason I bring this up is because it's a big piece of their business. As far as what sets them apart from other daycares, it's really their wow factor. A customer service that goes beyond what others are willing to do. Guy Falzarano has often brought up how his team goes and gets the Disney World training sessions. And Guy Falzarano fell in love with this idea. The fact that every employee should be ambassador of the vision or the mission that you're trying to get across in your company. What the Falzarano family tries to do is encompass a circle of care. And this not only extends to their employees, but to the parents, to the children, and the vendors. What does it mean to have vendors in a circle of care? Well, I'll tell you. When you have vendors in your circle of care, what it means to them is when a vendor expects to have his payment within 30 days, they're paid in 15. Because providing a service, there's no better partner to have than the business that provides you with the materials necessary to teach, clean, and feed the precious children you're taking care of. So it pays to take care of the vendors that provides the lunch to the children, or the company that provides the wet wipes to clean the children, or even the gloves that you use to maintain cleanliness in the classroom. All these things play a role in having an environment that's safe for the children and also one that provides a wow factor. So the 3 points to take away from this example is the fact that the Falzaranos are guided by core values, and so are their employees. These core values encompass things like nurturing, being responsible, happiness for the children, things that you would expect from a daycare. And all these things guide the decisions that the Falzaranos make. The second point to take into account is that stakeholders are what keep the business thriving. And you want to think of stakeholders are people who have a stake in the company. These are people who might own equity, parents of the children who depend on the service, or even the employees who depend on the payment for their work. And the third point is right incentives for the right behaviors. Now, what is incentivized for some of the employees is being able to work in an environment that gives back to the community and gives back to the children that so desperately need the education or so desperately need the attention. But one thing that I did not mention is the fact that as far as net income is concerned, it's tied to the reward system for the managers, meaning that a portion of whatever the company makes is given back to their employees, primarily the managers and the principals of these daycares. This incentivizes a behavior towards helping saving the company money, because the more the company saves, the more the managers and the principals make in profit and commission. Even though Mr. Falzarano did a great job developing the business, its 20 years of growth and expansion came from its franchises. And it's important to distinguish the fact that a franchisee is an entrepreneur whose power is limited by a contractual relationship with the franchising organization. The importance of establishing the difference is that the founders are the ones that are able to create and have free range of development, whereas a franchisee is limited to the contract, which allows her to do business under that name. The last section we want to cover is the motivation that drives entrepreneurs. So as you can see here, we have a flow chart that talks about the values and goals of most entrepreneurs. For values, we have personal fulfillment, and some examples of goals that stem from personal fulfillment are making a difference, being able to change the life of those around you or your community, or a sense of belonging and working together, being a part of something. Or maybe what you're looking for is personal satisfaction, something that gives you passion, drive, recognition, happiness, joy, some intrinsic emotion. Maybe that's what's motivating you. Another motivation is the independence associated with entrepreneurship, being your own boss, taking control of your future, the discretionary time and flexibility that you only get from owning your own business. Or it could be strictly money, just some autonomy and some independence that you want to be able to have, or to establish some financial wealth for you and your family. Whatever the reason, these opportunities can be economically attractive or socially, they can add value to your life and the lives of others. But as you go through your entrepreneurial career, or even just a corporate career, and end up being entrepreneurial and making a difference in your corporate environment, a common thread tying all future business owners is a strength in character and integrity. So much so that it permeates in their company and production. In the beginning, all companies pride themselves in the quality of their work or the quality of their product, even though they may not have the resources to do it. It's a matter of being resourceful that most people find help them to be successful. So remember these key points as you move through the course and as you move through your career. That being said, my name is Professor Augusto Suarez, and I am super excited to be your professor this semester. Please be sure to open the quiz following this video and complete it for your grade assignment. And as for the class, we will be needing your resume, as we will be doing an in-class assignment using the resume. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope this was helpful. You take care.